and I'm lucky over the years I've made friends in all those different places. Otherwise it gets quite lonely.
Yeah. How does it feel being on the road, like in the sky on your own all the time?
I don't mind the skies when you get down. But no, it's good. And that's why I'm so grateful that I've got those people everywhere I go.
In this podcast series presented by Boss, we journey into the lives of inspiring creators, artists and athletes, unearthing the pivotal moments that shape them into the unique bosses and leaders that they are today. Join us as we go behind the boss. In our next episode of Behind the Boss, we meet Australian model Jordan Barrett. After entering the industry at the age of 14, Barrett grew up travelling the world and learning from some of the best. With a clothing line and now an NFT under his belt, we sit down with the young trailblazer to pick his creative brain. Jordan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's start from the beginning. You were scouted? Is that how it all began?
Yes, they call it scouted. I mean, I didn't really think about it at the time. I had no idea what modeling or even kind of any idea what being in the fashion industry meant.
Yeah.
So it was all very confusing to me when I was that age. And I guess in like the most formative years of my life. But around that same week, I was given these cards by a few different people that had come up to me in my hometown, Crumman Valley.
Yeah. Australia.
In Australia, which is like a very small town. And it's like, the school is on the beach. There's like 2 schools there.
Yeah.
Very small beach town. Very nice place to grow up. But yeah, I had no idea what these words were they were using and what this was they were trying to explain to me.
Yeah.
And then once receiving these different people coming up to me, trying to scout me, I got back to one of them, which was the vice president over IMG. They took me, after that is when I guess I started working in those like formative years on strange little projects that I didn't know what I was getting into. Every time I'd go to set, I was always confused what the purpose of this photo was for. Or what they meant by that. Every time that these scouts were like taking pictures of my face, I was just very confused by the whole thing.
What did you love about it?
What did I love about it?
Yeah.
It was a great, being that young and I'd never really wanted to be at the school I was at. And it was a beautiful place to grow up, but I always wanted to leave. One of the first things that happened was my first job was in Sydney. I had to come, they took me there, and then they had mentioned I'd go into Japan because I was too young to be in London, but they kept wanting me to go to London to do the shows. Yeah. But I was 14, so that obviously was not a good idea. What I loved most about it, I think, was meeting the different kinds of interesting people I got to meet at that age. Yeah. Because they're all much older than me. It's like 15, 20-year gap between us. Yeah. So there's a lot to learn from them and a lot of things that I'd never experienced or seen before. Yeah, like a campaign shoot, for example. Or even the photographers on set and the people I was working with. I mean, it was like, that was my favorite part about it, I think, that it was the people on set and, meeting some of the photographers that I'd always looked up to, but that came further on. Yeah. When you were young and you were growing up, what did you want to be before you got scouted? Absolutely no idea. No idea. I was always interested in photography and architecture, but I really had no idea. And I still kind of, it's a little bit all over the place. Yeah. And surely you must have learnt or had that experience of being around professional working photographers must have been amazing at 14. Exactly. And I think that and the travel combined, I think, is what I love the most. Yeah. And I think it was like my first shoot was with Bruce Weber. Sure. And so as you do. No, but it's being with him on set. I remember just asking him so many questions about the cameras he was using and, all the people on that set. I found it very interesting and very inspiring. So I think it's kept me going. Yeah. Was it campaign or was it editorial? Or I think we spent like 7 days and wow. Yeah, no, it was really nice. So that was in Florida, in Golden Gate Beaches, south of Miami. That was like 7 days of just different shoots. I think a few of them were editorial, one was campaign, and he just had them back to back. So he brought me over to America, and then I got to New York, and it was all happening so quickly at that age, and I didn't really understand how young I was. Yeah. Like back then I thought I didn't feel like I was 17, as every 17-year-old does. Yeah. I don't know, I thought I had everything together and that everything was normal. Sure. Definitely got all my stuff together, for sure. Yeah. So you did a campaign shoot, you traveled all across the world, you didn't know what you wanted to be before you started that. You were mentored by Kate Moss, is that true? She's definitely been a huge mentor. She's been able to give me a lot of guidance and a lot of lessons, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, she's been so prolific in the industry. Did she give out good advice?
Yeah, 100%. Being represented also by KMA, her agency. There's a great team of people there that, you know, help guide every step of the way and always make me feel completely safe. And, you know, there's a lot of different tips. I couldn't think of one. And a lot of different things that she said to me over the years. And, a lot of, you know, I couldn't think of one specific thing.
Yeah. Like, when you're 14 and you, like, I get it. You've been scouted. You're on all these shoots. But, like, being a model is like learning to pose. How does that just happen? Does it just happen? Does it just come naturally?
I don't know. I mean, no, I think Bruce Weber was the one. He was the one that would sit there and be like, breathe, because I would never be able to breathe. I'd be like, I was always so anxious. And I was like, what's going on? Like, why, you know, I didn't understand what they liked and what they didn't like. Yeah. So that was the one thing he would say was just breathe and slow down. Like, just stop fidgeting, basically, as you will notice.
Well, I guess being a model is part of, like, adapting what you bring to the vision of who's behind the camera. What's your favourite project you've ever worked on?
Okay, so there's two things. There's like one, I enjoyed like a huge production with a lot of people. Yeah. And then there's other ones with intimate moments where I'm working with a photographer or someone like that. And then I think, you know, specifically like those big productions or those places, like I went to Dubai with Boss, for instance, and it was probably the biggest set I'd worked on in a fashion-related project, and I enjoyed that because there's so many different people, and we're all in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're in Dubai. We're in the desert in Dubai. And there's, I don't know how many people there were. There was like over hundreds. Like, you know. And you know, that's nice because you meet a lot of different people. You don't get bored.
And it's like, it must feel like such an occasion. Such an event.
It's just total, like, you know, it's just a complete change of everything. And then there's a film project that I just worked on in Australia. It's like it's a series that we're filming. We've had to stop because of COVID again. But it's called Burn, and it will be coming out hopefully shortly after we finish filming the last few episodes. But I'm really excited about that one. Great. Because that was my first time kind of acting in really anything.
How did you find acting?
I enjoyed it because I was working with people that had also never really acted before. So, you know, that was a nice experience because we could all bounce off each other and learn from each other. And the director and the DOP are very good friends of mine and such talented people. And it was just such a nice project. And I really loved the script.
How did you find learning lines?
It's like the learning the lines thing is simple. To me, it's just memory. It just takes us like three little things that I have been taught how to do to remember the lines, and it works perfectly. So it's just like clockwork now. So that wasn't the problem, you know. I don't know. And I liked that it was an Australian accent. Thank God. Those two kind of things I would say in the last two years were my favorite projects that I worked on. They were the most kind of inspiring or the most overwhelming in such nice ways.
Talk to me about your personal style.
I mean, my style's definitely changed over the years. 100%. I mean, growing up, I remember, you know, from being a child, was always wanting to be naked, or still always wanting to be barefoot. So it's definitely changed over the years. And it kind of does change from project to project and things like that. And I get inspired by different projects that I'm working on, you know, different designers I'm working with. My style is quite relaxed, but
does it change? So it changes from project to project. Is there certain projects and the way that you've dressed in a certain period that you're?
Well, I think it's also seeing different designers and seeing different, you know, being exposed to more and different designers, and also traveling so much in different temperatures. Obviously, it's always changing back and forth. So it's always changing and it's always loose. It's always comfortable.
So if you hadn't have been a model, if you hadn't been scouted, what career would you have had?
God, I was always interested in architecture and kind of in the design process, but I didn't know, you know, I was always interested in furniture design and, you know, or just an architecture, like I mentioned. But to be honest, I really don't know. It's a very broad and open kind of thing because I was so young. And at the moment this happened, the moment I was 14 and I was kind of away and traveling around 15, 16, I just stopped thinking about that. And that's what I meant when I was saying, like, in those like formative years, I was just like on the like, it was just on the go. It didn't even cross my mind until, you know, when I was like, say 21. I was like, okay, wait, what am I actually, like, what is this? What am I doing? And then what do I actually want to do?
Yeah, what are you building? What can you build
exactly,
with these foundations from...
Yeah, exactly. It's like the things that we spoke about. So, and I guess that's where I'm headed, so.
So you started modelling relatively young, 14. Is there anything that you think you might have missed out on, having been whipped off to Japan and across the world?
I mean, for sure. I mean, it's like I feel like I learned so much along the way, but then I also feel like I missed out on so many, you know, because I got so caught up in that, in those years, you know, it's like, it was happening, and, you know, it's kind of all I was thinking about was like, where am I going next? What's going on? You know, it was just like a schedule that I was following for years. But I also learned so much. So I'm not sure if, you know, it's like double-edged sword. I don't know if I missed out on, you know, what would be happening in regular everyday life at that age, or if I learned more. And I sometimes think about it, I think I learned more.
And so modelling must have taken you away from your family and friends over the years. How's that been for you?
For sure. I mean, you get very used to FaceTime, I suppose, or, you know, the phone calls.
Do you do like big reunions when you're back?
Yeah, usually, but I only go home kind of once or twice a year. But every time I go home, it's always like a big reunion of sorts.
What happens?
I mean, I have to spend most of the time at home with my family because otherwise they just get mad at me.
Yeah, so you don't go out. You're not like, hi, kiss on the cheek. And
no,
then
it's like you go out, you're locked in for like 2 weeks and then you get to go.
Very COVID-y, that. Right?
Yeah.
Just indoors, mooching. But
oh no, we're on the beach.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, fine. That doesn't sound too shabby.
No.
Do you see like old school friends?
No, mostly I see my family when I'm there.
Yeah. Is there a moment in your career that you remember vividly and fondly that you thought, this is it, I've made it?
I mean, I think that was when I was about 17, but I wouldn't say that was me thinking that I had made it, because I also didn't know what was coming ahead of that, you know? And you don't know how long things last, and you don't know what's going to be next.
So what happened at 17?
Well, 17 was when I was allowed to move to New York. I had my visa.
Yeah.
I had already come back from Miami.
Yeah.
And I had got my apartment in New York, and I knew that I was going to stay there, and I loved it there, and I wanted to stay there. Yeah, I guess that was that, and then I started working consistently with different people there, and looking into different things. Like, I'm working on this collaborative project right now. It's sedated, which in a way is like sedated by everything in terms of like art, music, film, things like that. So it's like an online platform where you can put a password in, it gives you most access to the films that you can't really find on Amazon or you know, all those different platforms. You know how everything seems to be banned?
Yeah.
Have you noticed this?
Well, I think
I'm finding it harder to find films I want to watch, or old films that I can't get to anymore.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find classics that you should have seen.
Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of put those on there, and I'm doing that with a bunch of different friends. Like, I've got a few writer friends that are helping me, and then, you know, on all the different projects. So we've got like the you have to look at the page, but and then we got the radio, which is going to be running every fortnight. So it's like you tune in every fortnight to different playlists with a bunch of different friends of mine that are going to come on. There's like 24. I think we have 24 lined up of that, and then I've got the merch line for that, with proceeds going back to the mental health charities that we're working with, and tied into the sale of this NFT that I'm working on with an artist called Jake Ferguson.
Yeah. What's the NFT?
The NFT is kind of like God, it's even hard for me to explain. And that's why I haven't released it yet, because it's just so, what it looks like is I don't know. I had to do an O2 scan. Do you know what this is?
No.
Okay, so you stand in this like circular dome. Yeah. With all like, I can't remember how many cameras there are. It's a camera every single place you look in the dome. Like, it's tiny little cameras all around you, and takes a 3D scan of you. Just stay still, which is obviously not at all.
That's not really your thing.
Point. So Jake Ferguson is the name of the artist I work with to create this NFT. It's kind of based around like the perception of what people think of you, and then the opposite of like what could actually be happening inside your head, and how things really are going on.
So how do you experience the NFT? Do I need a
Oh, no, you can...
Is it on a screen?
Yeah,
is it a VR headset?
It's on a screen that you go through on your phone to get into.
Yeah.
And it'll be launched on, I'm not sure exactly.
Which platform
Yes, but we're still... I mean, this week, I think we have to finalize all of this.
Yeah.
But it kicks... That whole world is a little confusing to me also.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed working with the artist and creating it and figuring out that message behind it. So it's kind of... It goes like through my head and then inside out. And it's like a spiral of what I could be thinking. Then it shows like comes back to like right now, like us sitting here and and then Bring Change to Mind is the organization that we're working with on that, and that's the mental health organization.
Have you worked with them before?
I have worked with them in the past, started to in the last few months. And then we were trying to do an ocean one as well. So there's two of those. One's with Parley for the Oceans. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
I do know Parley for the Oceans.
You know Cyril?
Not well, no.
Okay.
But
amazing guy.
Yeah.
Incredible guy.
Yeah.
And I first met him in New York, and then, do you know the Sea Shepherd?
No.
Okay.
What's the Sea Shepherd? Is it a person or a...
The Sea Shepherd is...
a pub.
Yeah, it sounds like one. Basically, I wanted to go on the Sea Shepherd for a long time now. I met Cyril at a dinner in New York.
Yeah.
And then I partnered with Parley for the Oceans. And then the first trip out of the part one or like three things that we're working on right now. One was the NFT.
Yep.
I started working with Parley on my first trip to the Maldives recently. Like I think 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
It's a blur. Where we went out there. We did a huge ocean cleanup.
Yeah.
I also got to learn to scuba dive on that trip.
Great.
And I went and met the whole Maldivian crew of Parley for the Oceans.
Yeah.
Who were the nicest people ever. And it was this one family that we kind of stayed with out there. And she was amazing. Shahina is her name.
Yeah.
And we did a giant ocean cleanup. They do, I think, 10 to 15 tons of plastic per week washed up on that beautiful coast out there. And it's per week. So that just keeps on coming. Keeps on coming.
I can't believe it.
And so it was gone. We cleaned it up. We did as much of a cleanup as we could do. And, you know, they've put all these amazing initiatives in place with, like, all the boats that pass through there. Now they've got this system where they go and they get, like, tokens as rewards kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they put it back in the fishermen. So they're trying to stop this.
Yeah.
In that way. So I'm a little rusty on my explanation.
Well, no, that's fine. I think I understand the general principle, but I like that there's two kind of arms to it, right? There's like you actually cleaning up the beach, but then there's also raising awareness.
Yeah, and I was also learning about, that was the trip where I got to learn about actually what goes on and what they're doing. So that was my first part with Parley, which was really nice.
What's one thing that you can't live without?
One thing there's so many things I can't live without.
Like what?
I mean, I need my people. Like I cannot live without. I mean, it's like I said, I need my friends, and I'm lucky to have those people everywhere I go.
Yeah,
I couldn't live without them.
Yeah, you've got. I was going to say a friend in every port. Is that right? Ish, yeah.
Yeah. And I need them.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky over the years I've made friends in all those different places. Otherwise, it gets quite lonely.
Yeah. How does it feel being on the road, like in the sky on your own all the time?
I don't mind the skies when you get down. But no, it's good. And that's why I'm so grateful that I've got those people everywhere I go. So what's one thing you can't live without?
Oh, what a good question. I was going to say espresso. Because I feel like I know where I am once I've had a wee shot of coffee. Just like familiar for me. But thanks for asking. I don't know. For me, like, I love my home comforts and I love traveling. I don't travel as much as you do. But coming home for me is like magical. Coming back to London, I love.
Yeah. Home cooked dinners and a garden.
Yeah.
Very, very, very refreshing, very happy.
Yeah, and I guess if you make good friends across the globe, you might get a home-ish
I got one last
dinner.
night and I was thrilled. It had been 3 weeks and I was just like, oh my God, to look at someone's kitchen and to see the family and to see like there's a family here, and it was the nicest feeling.
So the key to traveling well is to like befriend a local, but not in like a shallow way, like in a real way.
Yeah.
So you travel a lot. Have you got any anecdotes about getting recognised?
I mean, it's usually a strange thing when it happens because people usually just laugh at me and they're like freak. You know, it's like they always just laugh and freak, or they try and take a sneaky picture.
Yeah,
but it's always just like I'm like, why is it like in the distance, like someone's like us, and laughing in my face, and then pretending that they're not. But Yeah, it happened in the BP on the way back from Glastonbury. This girl was like hiding, and I'm like, it's just she's blatantly doing it. I was like looking at her, I'm like, hi, so I start smiling back at her and laughing. And it was a bunch of girls with their mum, and then like the mums, they all just start laughing at me, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
That's most of the time. Or sometimes I'm having nice chats with people on the plane, and I think that they have no idea, and I've never met them before. And then I get off the plane, and I get a DM from, and I'm like, how'd they know?
Yeah.
It's strange little things like that, and then I feel a little bit spooked.
No, don't be spooked. Isn't it? Surely it's like quite... Is it fun? No.
I don't know if it's... Yeah, I don't know if it's fun or not. It's just a strange feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, surely it's like people know you, but they don't. They don't.
No.
That's how it goes.
But I like it that way. I don't think they need to know everything.
No, true. Very true. In the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, what's coming next for you?
God, I get that question all the time, and I have no idea how to answer it. You know, in the next 10 years, I have no idea. In the next 5 years, I hope to have executed all the things that I'll have to put the time and effort into over the next 2 years to achieve. And see the results.
More sedated or bigger.
Yeah, I want to move into the film section. I want to execute all my plans I have with Sedated. I want to be more aligned with Parlay. I've got a bunch of different trips that I've got planned coming up in the next year or so that are completely unrelated to anything that I've done before.
Yeah,
and and I think everything takes planning to get to the next step. So in the next 5 years is to get through the next 2 years of executing that. And some things won't go to plan. That will be fine.
Yeah. I have a question I ask everyone who comes on the podcast. In 3 words, what are the traits that you believe make a good boss?
I can't do it in 3 words, but I think what you need to have is write down a plan, like where you want to go in life, what you want to do. Even if it's loose, try and, have a direction. Like you definitely need a direction and things to work towards and goals.
From what you're saying is you can't be a boss and be aimless.
Exactly.
I don't think you've got where you are today just with a plan. You've been quite determined.
Yeah, and I think I've taken the opportunities that have come my way, and I have had so many opportunities, and it's opened so many doors from starting as a model at that age, and I'm so grateful for all of those different opportunities. And it's like a little key that unlocks all these different doors into where you want to go, and it's just about finding like the time, I suppose, and having that direction and picking one and, exploring those options.
Yeah, and you have to be savvy to see what those opportunities are. And you've been able to seize them wholeheartedly.
Well, I hope I've started to.
On that note, thank you very much for joining me
thank you so
on the
much.
podcast. It's been brilliant having you here.
And I can't wait to hear other ones. And thank you, boss, for having me.
Thank you for listening to Behind the Boss with your host, that's me, Raven Smith. If you want to find out more about what it takes to be a boss and the stories behind the inspirational figures of today, new episodes of this podcast are out every 2 weeks. Make sure to tune in.